35th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence amid an Israeli barbaric war of aggression and an open war of genocide against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank. And Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has said just and comprehensive peace cannot be achieved through occupation, aggression or military solutions, but rather through the recognition of the right of Palestinians to self-determination. And the number of Palestinians killed since the beginning of the Israeli aggression against the Gaza Strip and the West Bank has reached 11,500 people. And those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. Good afternoon. The number of Palestinians killed since the beginning of the Israeli aggression against the Gaza Strip and the West Bank has reached 11,500 people. Palestinian Minister of Health May El-Kaila said that the Israeli occupation and the international community bear responsibility for the lives of patients, medical staff and displaced persons in Al-Shifa medical complex, warning of a massacre that may be committed inside it. She said that the timid move, as well as the complete silence of some countries, encouraged the Israeli occupation to storm the medical complex in flagrant violation of international law. The Palestinian health minister said that the occupation forces storming of Al-Shifa medical complex was a crime against humanity. And as we said, Zionist occupation forces have raided Al-Shifa hospital where thousands of Palestinians are sheltering following days of heavy attacks in the area surrounding the complex in Gaza City. Reporters said dozens of Zionist soldiers entered the facility while tanks were stationed in the yard of the medical complex, adding that the raid is considered to be very risky and dangerous, as inside the hospital there are around 7,500 Palestinians, including patients, doctors and displaced people. More in this report with Said Bouazi.
The General Director of Hospitals in the Gaza Strip, Dr. Munir El-Bursh, told reporters that Zionist occupation forces searched the basement of Al-Shifa and entered the surgical and emergency buildings within the complex. About 700 patients remain at the hospital, including about 100 in critical condition. More than 1,000 medical staff are also trapped on site, but they are unable to treat patients due to a shortage of medicines and fuel. The area around Al-Shifa has been battered by multiple Zionist attacks for weeks. The Zionist government has issued warnings to evacuate the facility. However, Palestinian medical officials have rejected the order, saying they cannot leave their patients behind. Amid the raid, Palestinian Authority Health Minister Dr. May El-Kaila said in a statement published by the Palestinian news agency Wafa that Zionist forces are committing a new crime against humanity, medical staff and patients, adding that the Palestinian government holds the occupation forces responsible for the lives of the medical staff, patients and displaced people in the Al-Shifa complex. Hamas said that it holds Israel and U.S. President Joe Biden responsible for the implications of the raid, labeling it a barbaric crime against a medical facility protected by the Full Geneva Convention.
And Palestinians are commemorating today the 35th anniversary of the proclamation of the State of Palestine from Algiers against the backdrop of a genocide aggression by the Zionist occupier in the occupied territories, notably in the Gaza Strip, which makes the hope for peace and two-state solution more remote than ever. Stay with us. We have a program dedicated to the Declaration of Palestine to be broadcast on Radio Algeria International just after the news headlines. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has said that the unjust, aggressive war to which Palestinians are exposed is a war against the Palestinian existence and the Palestinian national identity. He added that the Israeli aggression is a disgrace on the foreheads of those who support this aggression and provide it with political and military cover. Mariam Barshi is here in the studio to give us the details.
Abbas said Palestinians succeeded in mobilizing the entire world in rejecting the occupation's plans to displace the residents of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, and they will continue to work to win the battle for survival despite all the difficulties facing them. He said a just and comprehensive peace cannot be achieved through occupation, aggression or military solutions, but rather through recognition of the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination and the establishment of their independent state with Jerusalem as its capital. He said Palestinians will not stop their national struggle until achieving freedom, independence and state. He also praised the countries and peoples of the world who have stood and are standing with the Palestinian people in their legitimate struggle and reject the continuation of the occupation and its aggression against the land of Palestine and its people.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and the representatives of Palestinian factions in Algeria have hailed Algeria's steadfast stance under the leadership of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, in support of the Palestinian people, calling on all free men of the world to support the Palestinian resistance in order to continue the struggle against the Zionist occupier. Said Bougazi again.
At a meeting of the Algerian body of parties supporting Palestine with representatives of Palestinian factions in Algeria held at the headquarters of the Movement of the Society for Peace MSP in Algiers, the participants welcomed the position of Algerian political parties in favor of the Palestinian cause, in line with the country's official position and the role played by parliamentary diplomacy in terms of the humanitarian and health aid that Algeria has been providing in support of the resistance of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, which has been subjected to a barbaric Zionist aggression since 7th October. Speaking on this occasion, the representative of the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas in Algeria, Youssef Hamdan, said that the Palestinian resistance needed the support of the entire Arab Muslim nation, underlining that the cause is not only that of the Palestinians, but of all the free men of the world, Arabs and Muslims. The Hamas representative in Algeria pointed out that the Zionist occupation is trying to show that what is happening in the Gaza Strip is an achievement, but it is nothing but suicide and occupation. It is in fact going through a crisis and is suffering heavy losses that it is not declaring. It can neither advance nor retreat. For his part, the representative of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine in Algeria, Nader El-Qisi, stated that what has been taken by force can only be restored by force. This is why, as Palestinian factions, we demand support for the resistance on the ground by all means. As for Mohammed El-Hamami, representative of the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine in Algeria, he highlighted the courageous positions taken by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, in support of the central Palestinian cause and the Palestinian people. He also praised the honorable positions of the Algerian people.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and the World Health Organization WHO spokesperson has expressed concern at the fate of hundreds of thousands of displaced people in Gaza as heavy rains have caused floods and worsened the already serious health crisis, adding more suffering to the inhabitants of Gaza. The disruptions of the wastewater pumping and the shortage of water have caused a sudden rise of waterborne diseases and bacterial infections. The installations managed by the UNRWA, where more than 580,000 displaced people have sought refuge, received 9 times more people than their capacity, posing additional health crises due to overcrowding. And the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has expressed concern at the important human losses in several hospitals of the Gaza Strip undergoing an Israeli genocide, which was followed by a call for an immediate ceasefire by Stephen Dujarric. The situation in Gaza worsened in the last hours while the Zionist occupying army carries bombardments on inhabited buildings and hospitals, including the Shifa Hospital, where more than 100 of martyrs have been buried in a mass grave. And the first lorry of fuel coming from Egypt has entered the Gaza Strip for the first time since the beginning of the Israeli aggression against the Palestinians. The fuel will be delivered to the UN East to follow to ease aid after the shutdown of the aid delivery to the Palestinians due to the shortage of fuel. The UN recently warned that its operation in Palestinian territories will be suspended due to the lack of fuel. And several French unions have launched a call for demonstrations against next Saturday to demand an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, say stop to the massacres and demand the liberation of hostages and prisoners. Solidarity with the Palestinian people, stop massacres, ceasefire in Gaza, wrote the 3 unions in solidarity and in a common communique calling for gatherings and demonstrations for peace on Saturday. And the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA media advisor Adnan Abu Hasna, has warned that the humanitarian programs in Gaza would be suspended in the next 30 hours due to the shortage of fuel reserves. Mariam Barshi tells us more.
Adnan Abu Hasna stressed that the suspension of the UNRWA operations could result in an interruption of the supply of drinking water and the worsening of the food security crisis for the population in Gaza. Due to a lack of fuel, UNRWA will no longer be able to carry humanitarian supplies from Egypt to Gaza, and the local bakeries will be in shortage of raw material to function, which will result in a total starvation. Meanwhile, Abu Hasna warned against a major health crisis resulting in the shutting down of the water purifying plant, which could have environmental consequences and cause the spread of unprecedented infectious epidemics and diseases. Abu Hasna added that the UNRWA proceeded in intensive consultations with the United States, the European Union, and the Israeli side, but no agreement on the resumption of the fuel flows toward Gaza has been concluded yet.
And lawyers and international law experts has announced the holding of an international conference at the end of November in Algiers on pursuing the Zionist entity before international legal bodies for the genocide committed against it. Here is a statement of Laidi Audash.
We decided to hold a conference on November 30 in Algiers. The conference will be preceded by 3 workshops. The first workshop is charged with documenting the crimes perpetrated on a daily basis in Gaza. The second workshop is charged with studying the possibility of suing the Israeli occupation before international courts. The third workshop is charged with coordinating with other bodies so that we resort to governmental and non-governmental organizations for the rights of Palestinian children, as well as, for instance, the UNESCO, which is completely absent from the scene currently.
14 hours 42 minutes Algiers time. We're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and back to the country now. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, has chaired a meeting of the Council of Ministers devoted to 2 bills, the first relating to alimony and the second to the budget regulations for the 2021 financial year. In addition to presentations on the digital transition in Algeria and the situation of wastewater treatment plants, according to a press release. As part of his visit to the United Kingdom, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, held talks upon his arrival in London with the British Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Lord Tariq Ahmed. According to a press release issued by the ministry, these discussions are part of the second session of the strategic dialogue between Algeria and the United Kingdom. The Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Said Chengriha, held talks on Tuesday, the 3rd day of his official visit to China, with the head of the Equipment Development Department of the Central Military Commission, Army General Xu Shuqiang, the Ministry of National Defense said in a statement. During this meeting, which was extended to the members of both delegations, the Army General expressed his deep gratitude to his host for the welcome extended to him and the accompanying delegation before handing over a letter from the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. And you're still listening to Radio Algeria International. Today is the 3rd and last of the North Africa Energy and Hydrogen Exhibition and Conference, NAPAC, here in the in Oran City in the Mohammed bin Ahmed International Convention Center. Jama Salmani, who is on the spot, tells us more.
It is considered a premier event dedicated to showcasing the latest advancements and trends in the energy and hydrogen sectors. The PAC brought together for 3 consecutive days leading industry experts, policy makers, and stakeholders to discuss the industry's challenges and opportunities and explore innovative solutions and technologies transforming the energy landscape. The managing director of ENI Algeria, Giorgio Vecini, says that cooperation and partnership is crucial to reach climate change solutions.
Technology development, because has been a lot of discussion and has been demonstrated that the most effective way to reduce emission and to go towards energy transition is technology application, technology breakthrough. We are working a lot on that. We are working a lot on new technologies that could, like solar renewables, CCS, and hydrogen. We have also pilot projects, and we are working on that here in Algeria as well. So technology is going to be for the future the best way towards energy transition and towards climate change matters. The other one is cooperation, partnership. Because at the end, and again, there were a lot of discussion in the past, the best way to reach, let's say, climate change solutions, and it's been demonstrated that partnership is the best way. And this is exactly what is happening today here for us in Algeria. Partnership with respect to monitoring emissions, identifying possible sources of emission, identifying solutions, and sharing applicability of technologies and therefore reducing emissions. This is the key driver for me, therefore, to reduce emissions are technology again and partnership.
The exhibition offered an opportunity for businesses to display their products and network with influential individuals in the industry. We visited in the exhibition a stand of an Italian company. The representative had this to say.
So we are from Spina Group. This is Pier Davide Carria speaking. We are an Italian company who has the production all in Italy. All of our products are made in Italy, especially our explosion-proof material. Our explosion-proof material is specific for oil and gas industry, for the sector, and we supply the onshore and offshore industrial plants. Our goal, what we seek from this exhibition is to look for new opportunities and also new suppliers who can help us to establish and consolidate our business in Algeria. For now, we have branches in other countries in Africa. We already collaborate with Sonatrach, but we are trying to expand ourselves in Algeria.
Solar, wind, water power, and even hydrogen energy were at the center of several conferences and lectures given and attended by national and foreign energy experts. Warren Murdoch, President and General Manager, Occidental of Algeria LCC, said the enemy is emissions in all scenarios.
The transition itself, it has to be smooth. It has to ensure security, stability of energy in the undeveloped and developed regions of the world. But for that to happen, oil and gas will prove to be critical for decades to come. What we need to do now is act on the emissions appropriately. Only 20% of the world's energy needs can be satisfied today using low carbon solutions, and that's nuclear and renewables. So thinking about switching off 102 million barrels a day of oil, now how's it ever going to be effective? How will we manage to have a quality of life? And that 102 million barrels of oil, that only supports 30% of the world's energy demands. So I think oil is here to stay. The key message is that we have to shift to a net zero oil. There's too many opinions out there focused on eliminating fossil fuels. What we should be focusing on is the enemy, and the enemy is the emissions.
Technological innovation has a major role in the energy transition, with investments and partnerships in the research and development of new, clean and sustainable technologies to accelerate the global fight against the phenomenon of climate change. In a speech to an audience, Managing Director of Total Energies in Algeria, Mufdi Sheikh, spoke about gas that can play a major role in energy transition.
In order for the gas to fully play its role in the energy transition, we all need to go for an objective of zero methane along the value chain of the gas. And for Total Energies, it's an objective for 2030 to have zero methane. Coming back to our position, so in 2022, we sold 48 million tonnes per annum of LNG, which consolidated our position as third worldwide LNG player. Among those volumes, 99% went to countries committed to net zero by mid-century, and where the gas is playing a key role in their roadmap, where they intend to displace both coal and also fuel oil. Coming back here in Algeria, what we are doing with regards to gas, apart the fact that our main assets are gas assets, Tilfit, Ebencourt and Tilimoun, we have extended last year our LNG offtake contract of 2 million tonnes per annum with Sonatrach which contributes again to both the energy security in Europe and France, and also to displacing coal, which is still used by many European countries.
The energy market in Algeria opens up promising prospects for strong and promising partnerships and for the creation of new business opportunities. The commitment of the participants to NAPAC reinforces the potential for fruitful collaborations and the creation of innovative energy projects. From the western city of Oran, Jamal Silmani to Radio Algeria International.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and time now for the headlines. Palestinians mark today the 35th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence amid an Israeli barbaric war of aggression and an open war of genocide against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. And Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said that just and comprehensive peace cannot be achieved through occupation, aggression or military solutions, but rather through the recognition of the right of Palestinians to self-determination. And the number of Palestinians killed since the beginning of the Israeli aggression against the Gaza Strip and the West Bank has reached 11,500 people. That's it, dear listeners, for our news bulletin. We'll meet you again tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Algiers time for our full news edition. Goodbye. Hello, dear listeners, and welcome on the waves of Radio Algeria International. Today, November 15th, we commemorate the Palestinian Declaration of Independence that was announced here in Algiers in 1988. Today represents a great hope for Palestinians in establishing their independent state as provided for by international law within the 1967 borders. It is a national day on which official and people's institutions do not work in Palestine, and the Palestinian flag is raised over the buildings of the government, political parties and houses. It is a celebration that, unfortunately, Palestinians are prevented from commemorating happily this year, as Gaza is under an intensive and relentless attack that can't but be defined as ethnic cleansing. However, their daily suffering due to the Israeli occupation didn't but give them more will and determination to achieve the right to an independent state with Al-Quds as capital.
أنا عربي ولون الشعر فحمي ولون العين بني وميزاتي على رأسي عقال فوق كوفية.
On November 15, 1988, the 19th session of the Palestinian National Council or Parliament of the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, was held here in Algiers a year after the first Intifada or the Stone Uprising. During this session, late Palestinian President Yasser Arafat, who was then president of the Palestine Liberation Organization PLO, delivered his famous speech proclaiming the Palestinian Declaration of Independence, saying, "The National Council announces, in the name of God and in the name of the Arab Palestinian people, the establishment of the State of Palestine on our Palestinian land and its capital, Al-Quds al-Sharif."
فإن المجلس الوطني يعلن باسم الله وباسم الشعب العربي الفلسطيني قيام دولة فلسطين
The Palestinian Declaration of Independence was written by late poet Mahmoud Darwish, conveying many meanings and recalling the heroism of the Palestinian people and their aspiration for freedom. It also conveyed a Palestinian peace message addressed to the world, insisting that Palestinians want to live in peace and security on the historic land of Palestine. The Declaration of Independence also approved the commitment of Palestinians to the principles of the United Nations and its goals, to the World Human Rights Declaration, and to the principles of non-alignment and its policy. The Declaration of Independence emphasized that the State of Palestine is an Arab state, which is part and parcel of the Arab nation, with its heritage and civilization, and aims to achieve its goals of liberation, development, democracy, and unity. The Declaration of the State of Palestine and its independence document and its commitments led to an immediate recognition of the State of Palestine by many friendly countries. They recognized the Palestinian state as announced in the Independence Declaration and welcomed on their soil Palestinian embassies and representations. About 110 countries recognize the right of Palestinians to an independent state with Al-Quds as capital. The number of countries that recognize the State of Palestine has reached 141 countries. Palestinian diplomatic efforts culminated on November 29, 2012 in the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 6719. This resolution upgraded Palestine to non-member observer state status in the United Nations General Assembly. The Palestinian Declaration of Independence in 1988 paved the way for global recognition of the Palestinian state and its capital Al-Quds, revealing that Palestinian national unity is the shortest way towards facing up to the occupation. And the 15th of November is also an opportunity to remember and pay tribute to former Palestinian President Yasser Arafat for his efforts to make the Palestinian cause heard and recognized internationally. Despite all the challenges and circumstances surrounding the Palestinian cause, Palestinians pursue their efforts to obtain international recognition of the Palestinian state. And in September 2015, the United Nations General Assembly approved the vote of the majority of its members, raising the flag of Palestine at the headquarters of the organization in New York for the first time, along with the flags of the rest of the 193 UN members. The State of Palestine also obtained the membership of United Nations institutions and joined international treaties and organizations, including the International Criminal Court in 2014. The ongoing Israeli aggression on Palestinians in Gaza, though barbaric, painful, unfair and inhuman, it has revealed the double standard policy of many countries who used to condemn occupation and violence, but currently they are watching in inaction the Israeli occupation committing the most hideous crimes that do not spare anybody, not even a fetus in his mother's womb. This year, the celebration of the anniversary of the Palestinian Declaration of Independence comes amid the world's awakening to the real atrocities committed against Palestinians, a fact that has always been distorted by the Western media. But this year it was revealed, and all those who died in the current Israeli aggression are alive in the eyes of humanity and are strengthening the right of Palestinians to freedom, dignity, and peace. And by committing such massacres, the Israeli occupation is feeding Palestinians more determination to defeat the occupation and gain sovereignty over their lands. And as it was said by Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish in his poem about a human, "O you, with bloodshot eyes and bloody hands, the night is short-lived. The detention room does not last forever, nor do the chains. Nero died, but Rome did not. With her eyes she fights, and the seeds of a dead wheat ear with wheat shall fill the valley."